it's central because the audience at the end of the day drives demand, and their needs, whether they are always initially aware of them or not, their needs are the thing that is going to make it to where you can actually provide solutions for them. Not make sales, but offer solutions. And I think that's key as well. Knowing your skills and your tools. One of the most foundational things that have helped me grow in my career has been this one, knowing tools. I didn't, of course, graduate with a marketing degree.
Hi, welcome to another episode. I am here today with Garrett Hammonds from Nomadic Software Marketing. Is that right?
That's right. Nomadic Software Marketing.
Perfect. I saw the plus sign in there and it kind of threw me for a loop. Garrett, can you tell our audience, our listeners, a little bit more about yourself, how you got involved in marketing and all that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a little bit of a unconventional pathway into marketing. I started off going to school to be a high school teacher. I was going to teach high school speech and debate. So I was getting my degrees in communication studies and political science. And I debated in high school and college. I thought it was the thing that made the most sense. But turns out when I started substitute teaching and really diving into some of the more day-to-day, I have such an incredible respect for teachers, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me whenever I got into the weeds of things. So I left school with a bachelor's degree in communication studies, another one in political science, and I had no living clue what I was going to do with those going into the workforce. So I got hired at a nonprofit called the American Choral Directors Association. And it was a membership organization for choir teachers all over the world. And it was interesting in the role that I had as a communication coordinator. But I ended up finding myself getting drawn more and more to the marketing pieces. They asked me to do social media because nobody else really wanted to do social media, and they thought, Garrett's young, he can do it, and I thought, why not? Why I will just jump in there and do what I can. And little things like that just kept coming along my pathway. Eventually, I got hired at another nonprofit called the Oklahoma Society of CPAs. And I had the same thing kind of pop up. I started learning Google Ads because they had Google Ads and paid search campaign or paid social campaigns that they would run during their heavy seasons. I would do events marketing for student events and got to coordinate with huge brands like Deloitte, EY, some of the other big four. I was kind of sold from there on marketing, and I knew that I wanted to pursue it full time. So I got hired on as a marketing lead at a small SaaS company, worked there for a little bit, and eventually took the role that I've been in for 2 years now at Nomadic Software Marketing as the director of marketing. And we focus primarily on B2B businesses. And it's a treat every single day. I love what I do.
So, as a marketer, how do you work to make your practice stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, that's a tough one in especially the digital marketing space, because it's like every keyword and everybody who, ever, took a online certification, it's like it's a very congested space. So for us, what we have done is really tried to niche down and know where we excel the most. If you try and do everything, you're going to inevitably fail. And so B2B businesses is our focus. We do work with some large B2C companies as well. But then we have specifically 3 verticals that we market to. Finance. So we work with equity companies, and loan companies, insurance. We work with logistics, specifically, a lot of our companies specialize in healthcare logistics, and then manufacturing. And the reason why that was a successful one for us is inside of our initial research, and this was before my time at the company, especially during the pandemic, some of these businesses have been around for almost 100 years, and they never really had to do digital marketing because they got all of their clients word of mouth, and then the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden there was increased competition. People weren't doing business in the same way that they were before, and some of these companies had to pivot and figure out, how do I get found in digital spaces? And so the ways we stood out, we actually started locally. So the company's based in Asheville, North Carolina. We tried to be able to work with manufacturing businesses that were locally based in some sense, but with a global or national presence. Did a little bit of advertising. Advertising's really not been the main way that we've found success. We find a lot of success for our clients on those, but for ourselves, we really do a lot of networking. We go to events. We do a lot of getting referrals from the businesses that we work with. It's not huge spaces within manufacturing and some of these larger logistics, all of those verticals. So these companies, they're typically pretty interconnected, and so that's a couple of different ways. And I think if people can find their niche, and then start networking and getting intertwined with the people within that group, then it's a really strong starting place, and then you can expand from there.
So it leads me to some maybe silly questions, I guess. But how are you tracking ROI on your conference participation? What does that look like?
Yeah. So with conferences, we a lot of the time will have meetings that we set up with folks, or that people set up with us as the conferences start. And then we'll also collect contact information at the conference with people that we connect with. And so after that, that's when we start getting into digital campaigns. We'll follow up with folks over email, sometimes over phone call or in-person visits if they're local. And we, since we kept up with who the contact information was from the beginning, there's other little things that we do just as an extra measure. QR codes are great because you can put UTM codes inside of that and retarget inside of digital ads. But again, that relationship building for us has been the most successful as a general rule. And so we track ROI just by looking, who do we start with, who actually turned into business, just keeping it really, really simple. And then, of course, we keep up with the lifetime value of the customers as well, and that helps us know what we can really invest when getting out in front of folks.
So you're tracking all of your touches in a CRM of some sort?
CRM, right. We use ActiveCampaign for ours. So pretty common one. We didn't need something as large scale as like a Salesforce or larger plan on something like a HubSpot. So ActiveCampaign helps us be able to automate what we need to keep people flowing through the pipeline. And that's where we keep up with the lifetime value as well. Other things that we use is tracking measures. We do use Zoom Info as a tool. So we know if companies that we have been keeping up with have visited our website, connects up perfect to GA4 and actually passes those parameters into the reports that we can have there. And then we also use Mixpanel. That one's going to be just kind of a secondary backup to some of our other tracking. So if something ever goes down, we have Mixpanel that can, kind of act as another system to pull in
And so
your
you can,
foundational stuff.
right. So you can slice across this data and go, yeah, that conference we attended last year, that was amazing. Let's do that again. This other, trade show we attended, that was less so, or it hasn't materialized yet. And so we're not going to go to those. When you're sitting down to make those strategic decisions, do you then deploy the Salesforce to go to those events? Do you have drop in the flying monkeys kind of thing, or how does it work?
That's exactly right. For us, we have a couple folks on staff who are dedicated sales personnel, and they're the ones who typically are going to be going in person to the conference. Our president of the company, she also joins those conferences a lot of the time, and tries to make really good networking connections at conferences we go to. And that's something that we've expanded on a little bit this year, and so we've tested out some new conferences. Most of the ones we've gone to have been a big success, though. But we've gone to specific industry conferences for the verticals that we serve. So staying away from more general professional conferences and going to very, very specific industry vertical conferences.
So you're using those conferences to nurture relationships. You're continuing to grow the referrals you already had, and you're increasing your lifetime value for your current client base. And I think that's as a three-legged stool. That's a really a great approach. Do you find that that doesn't meet your growth targets? Are you satisfying your sort of business objectives there with the business moving forward, or are you still looking for more?
Well, we're always looking for more, but we definitely have been satisfying our business objectives through that, and that's the main way. We do, of course, being very, being a digital marketing agency, we have some different ways in which we've pulled in clients through free Google Ads audits, and there's all kinds of different pathways that we employ. I think at the heart of all of that, even when looking at any kind of digital piece, it's always going to need to come back to a core objective of how can I connect with these businesses, these business owners, the people, the humans on the other side, and really listen to the needs that they have, and are we a good fit for helping them? And that's where that relationship piece comes in. But business is fantastic. With us, the companies that we work with, a lot of the time, if we're talking about equity companies, a lot of the time they're buying and selling fairly quickly. So we get a really nice recurring revenue that happens when a new company is purchased, but we also help those companies look more desirable in the market with the work that we do. And so we help the sale of those companies, really focusing on EBITDA and making digital connect up with their overall again, value as businesses. And so there's all kinds of different ways that we pull in new clients, but all of it really comes back to the relationship building.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got different strategies for different types of your revenue mix as well, which I think is pretty interesting. That the one-off transactional stuff is going to be important and maybe bigger ticket, but it's obviously short run. And then you have the other sort of recurring revenue, and you're going to get to those maybe one through the other, right? You're going to, more often than not, those one-off transactions will turn into longer recurring business if you're successful. Is that a fair statement?
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly right. Kind of what I was talking about at the beginning, that, within some of these more niche verticals, it can be a small world with the larger players, and they all are pretty interconnected. And so of course we're not, pulling in competitors or something like that, but they have a lot of time other businesses that they work with pretty closely, and that often leads to new clients. And so one of the really big pieces for us, we have a customer success staff member at the company, because we have to deliver really, really good services from start to finish, in order to make sure that everyone stays satisfied enough they're willing to refer and send people over. And of course, again, B2B, that's our acquisition process is a lot different than what we would maybe see working with a B2C client or something to that nature. But these methods have worked really well for us so far.
So have you done any coaching for your clients themselves on a process similar to yours for helping them grow their business? I mean, it sounds like what's working for you might work well for them, or it may not. It's hard to say. How do you make that distinction when a client comes to you and says, "I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z"?
Yeah, yeah. One of the very first things that we do as a company is really dig in and try and understand what the business is in the market, what it looks like. And we actually do a workshop with most every single one of our clients to be able to get going. It's like a two to 2.5 hour workshop where we just get their expertise on what their market looks like, what their company looks like, and we pair that with data. There's sometimes clients don't know what they don't know, and that's where the data can help come in and provide a little bit more clarity. But then there is never clarity without context, right? And so the clients often are able to give really good context inside of that. And so even, not a straightforward answer for you to your question, but it really just comes down, each individual business, even though on similar verticals, are always different. So some of the things that we do for our business, our agency, has been cross applicable with some of our clients. Other clients, people are just searching for very, very specific things on search engines, or they're, finding a very specific industry publication. We've crossed over at times with traditional marketing and magazine things. It really just depends, and it's really important for anybody who's trying to market their business to know your market and what it looks like, and know your audience. And it's going to be one of my big themes that you may hear from me, that relationship that links back to knowing your audience. So,
all right. Well, it sounds like you're helping the segue here. So let's first things first ask you, or last things last, or second to last. Anyway, well, if you could tell us who should reach out to you and how can they get a hold of you?
yeah, absolutely. So if you're somebody who is struggling to be able to find your breakaway as a business, and you need help scaling, not only to be able to grow, but doing it in a manageable way, a way that you can handle inside of the growth process. And my focus is B2B, but we've helped all kinds of businesses those are the kind of people who reach out to me. I'm always happy to talk to you. You can find me on LinkedIn. My handle is going to be Garrett Hammonds dash digital. And then I have a personal website, garretthammonds.com. Or if you want to reach Nomadic, our website there is nomadicsoftware.com.
Perfect. And in your sort of journey to become the marketing magnate that you are right now, what are the 3 biggest lessons you learned along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think all three of them hopefully go hand in hand. For me, learning your audience, learning your tools and your skills, and then learning yourself. Those are the 3 core areas that have served me really, really well. So your audience is going to be connected up with everything that you do when you're marketing. It's central because the audience, at the end of the day, drives demand, and their needs, whether they are always initially aware of them or not, their needs are the thing that is going to make it to where you can actually provide solutions for them. Not make sales, but offer solutions. And I think that's key as well. Knowing your skills and your tools. One of the most foundational things that have helped me grow in my career has been this one, knowing tools. I didn't, of course, graduate with a marketing degree. I did a bunch of certifications, but what I really took time to do was buckle down. And if I was in Google Ads and learning that for the first time, I looked at every single last nook and cranny of the tool. And if I didn't know what something meant, a metric, a setting, I looked it up and I learned every single inch. So that way I knew how it all functioned. And I did that with all kinds of different marketing tools, and it has helped me to be able to be really well rounded, but be able to help my team be able to grow as well, and provide insights for stakeholders. Learning a skill, learning a tool, really important. And then learning yourself. I obviously didn't know what I was wanting to do at the beginning of my career, not to the full extent. So I had to go through some reflection, and there's been times throughout my career that I've had to do that reflection process. And if you're in a job role right now and you're just regularly unhappy, or you are frustrated or confused, there may be, different ways to approach whatever you're doing that could fix that. Who knows, experiment with different stuff. But at some point in time, you have to say, am I trying to fit myself into something that's not, what I should or would like to be doing? And so those are the three big takeaways for me.
Thank you so much for being on the show today, Garrett. I really appreciate your insights, and I think they're going to be valuable for our listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.